Welcome, everybody. This is Laurel. Glad you're here. If you can hear the sound of my voice, could you just raise your hand? It's under reactions on the bottom of your screen. Wonderful. Looks like you can hear me. Great. For those of you that I haven't worked with before, welcome. I've been facilitating with the Sedona method for about 6 years and just really enjoy sharing it with others and just all the wonderful things it's brought into my life. So I appreciate that you're here now. And if you've been at other support calls, I'm sure you know what to expect. For those of you that are newer, we're going to be having the opportunity to request individual support with whatever is showing up in your life, as well as asking questions. If you have any questions about the Sedona method, we really encourage you to practice in your own life. So happy to address any questions around that, as well as sharing gains. It's really helpful for all of us to hear how this technique has benefited you in your life. And so we're very welcome to share those gains as well. And if it's appropriate, I may address your question using a group release. We'll just see whatever happens in the moment. And this call is being recorded. It will be posted on my YouTube page within a few days. And that's just under Laurel Askew. You can see my name on the bottom of the screen. And I think that's it. I think we'll just go ahead and get started. If you have questions or like support, or just raise your hand. And it looks like Sharon is the first one here.
Hi, Laurel.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, thanks for the call.
Absolutely.
I'd like some support, please. I've been doing the Sedona method for a couple of years and it's really helping in my life, but I've got a lot going on. I've got an appointment tomorrow that I've got a lot of anxiety and a lot of stuff going on within it. It doesn't seem really important in the higher scale of things and what's going on in my life, but it seems to be like there's a lot of emotions under it for me, and I'm aware there's something going on with relationship dynamics for the person I'm going to be seeing tomorrow at the appointment. A lot of mixed feelings. So I'd like to release around that, please. It's like trust issues, fear that they're not gonna do what I'm asking them to do right. And I feel like I'm putting trust in this woman, which I feel in the past I've been able to trust her. Over recent times I haven't. So just some support releasing around that without going into much into story, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's just start by, as best you can you allow yourself to pause?
Yeah.
And stop. Yeah. Just notice what's here now in this moment.
Yeah, there feels anxiety in my throat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And I really, the way that this process works through me, I tend to focus more on the body. I think that's important. We get stuck in our head or our feelings, and sometimes the body can be ignored. So as we do this, I invite you to just notice that sensation in the throat.
Yeah. Okay.
That you're labeling as anxiety. And sometimes I ask people if they want to, if it feels right, you could just gently place a hand there. Whatever's comfortable.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And just breathing into that space. Turning your awareness towards the throat and any sense of contraction there. Anxiety.
Feels a lot heavy. Yeah.
You said heavy?
Yeah, it's heavy. And I feel like, when you feel like you get a tickle in your throat, I feel like I've been like that a lot the last few days, particularly today.
Yeah. And do you also have some water nearby?
I do, yes.
Okay, perfect. So as that tickle appears, I invite you to also just drink some water and just inviting anything to just move through the throat. Um, yeah, and just noticing that part of your body and noticing what all that's showing up right now, or all that appears to be happening. Any thoughts that you might have around this appointment and this person, and just anything that's coming up around that.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a churning feeling as well, a little bit in my stomach now as well.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, and these sensations can kind of bounce around. So as you do that, if you want to again move your hand and just acknowledging the body is always telling us something. We might not always know what it's saying to us,
yeah,
but I like to acknowledge the sensations in the body is another way of welcoming,
okay.
noticing. Yeah, so just and we don't have to get too concerned about what does this mean and now it's here and now it's there. Just again, this is just another acknowledgement of what appears to be happening.
Yeah,
And as you notice these sensations, can you also notice the feelings that are here? You
yeah, I
mentioned,
can.
yeah, so
Yeah,
just notice any sense of that anxiety that you mentioned.
yeah, I can.
This is a space where you can just allow whatever is apparently happening to just be recognized.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Wonderful. Yeah. I know. Good. That breath sounded helpful.
Yeah, bit of relief.
Good. Yay. Can we just welcome that release?
Yeah,
Just noticing anything that just moved through you, just acknowledging any shift that may have happened.
yeah,
And is there still a projection towards the future around what may or may happen? Is that still present for you?
yeah. Very much in this situation. It's
Yeah.
been ongoing for quite some time.
Okay, so
Uh,
we'll
yeah,
continue with that. Any attention that's fixated on the situation, could you just simply notice that?
yeah,
And often when we notice we've experienced tension or anticipation, there can be some conclusion making that may happen.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
just noticing any of this attention around what may happen or may not happen, if this happens, any sense of wanting to figure it out.
Wanting to control it.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
good.
wanting a positive outcome, and I just really can't believe that right now.
Yes, of course. Yeah. It's just all that's here in your space around this situation that appears to be ongoing,
Yeah.
unresolved. Um, just allowing it all to be here in this moment.
And
And you
what
can
I'm aware of is the woman I'm going to see, I really like as a person, but I feel really frustrated with her because she's not really doing the best in her job by me. It just feels like she's demotivated and stuff. And there's a lot of conflict going in with, you know, around that because I do like this woman, but I feel really frustrated with her.
yeah, yeah. And so can you also welcome that frustration? And can you really give yourself permission to feel as frustrated as you do?
I feel really angry as well.
Yeah, good. Let's let that anger also be here. I know Hale, I love it when he suggests when there's anger or especially resistance to anger. Could you just imagine if there was no consequence? Could you imagine yourself expressing that anger? Like what if you could just do what really, like, it's really in there, just eating you up. Like, if you could just really act that out. And you give yourself permission. Nobody's going to be hurt. We won't tell her. She doesn't know.
I'd like to say to her, I'd like to say, will you just get your job done, right? You take some
Okay.
responsibility.
Yeah. Can you just imagine saying that to her? Really, as much as like is there, just really expressing that.
I feel there's a holding back in that. I'm aware of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So just notice that. Notice that resistance to express what wants to be said. And knowing that there's no consequence, that it's totally okay. Can you just imagine in your mind saying those words? It's okay.
I'm finding that a little bit difficult to do, to be honest.
Okay. Well, as much as you feel like you're going to give yourself permission and allow yourself to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then can you notice any sense of wanting to change any of this? Of
Yeah.
wanting her to behave differently, of her to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the wanting to change. Can you just notice that?
I can, yes.
Yeah. And then could you also Ah, and then could you
You're setting me off.
That's good. That's good. I think you're setting me off.
Good.
And then notice any holding on. You mentioned this part of, oh, I can't really express how I feel, even in my
Yeah.
imagination. So just notice,
Yeah.
could you just notice that holding on, holding back?
Oh, yeah, I feel very like powerless in this situation. Like I've got no right to speak out. Oh, I don't know why I feel like that, but yeah.
Yeah. So could you notice holding on to that belief that I have no right to speak? Notice how true that feels for you.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. And notice any part of you that wishes that was different.
Definitely, yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good. Just noticing the push and the pull.
Oh, and there's a beating myself up because when I've been previous times, I've come away not saying what I've wanted to say or not telling when things have been wrong. And I've just realised I beat myself up when it's not done right, as though it's my fault. And I'm the
Yeah.
customer here.
Yeah. So notice any holding on to this belief that this is my fault and making yourself wrong for behaving in any way.
Oh, yeah, that goes back to my stomach now. There's like a really
Yeah.
heavy, not a very nice, pleasant sensation in my gut.
Yeah. Good. So could you just acknowledge that?
And yeah, this has been
Good.
with me a long time. It's showing up a
Yes.
lot.
So just, really being tender around that. Bring in some sweetness. This part of you, this apparent part of you.
Yeah.
And now could you also notice anything that feels personal around this? There's a lot that you mentioned that really sounds personal, like I'm to blame. I have no right. Any feelings that feel like they're yours.
Oh, yeah, it feels very personal. Feels like this is who I am. I've identified with that, yeah.
Yeah, just notice how much identification is happening around this experience.
Oh. Oh, I would
Oh,
like to let that go.
Yeah, good. So just seeing what's here, what you might be holding on to, and then what would be beyond all of that?
Oh,
Yeah, look,
freedom.
good. So can we welcome in this freedom?
Yeah.
Freedom to speak freely,
Yeah.
to allow these words to just come through.
Goodness, yeah. That's where the restriction is in my throat. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a stopping it, feeling I don't have that right. Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So could you just welcome?
Oh,
There's full permission to speak here.
oh,
Really, and
yeah.
could you really feel that, like in this moment, imagining in your body mind what it would feel like to allow that those words to come through freely, and that opening in the throat of to express what wants to be expressed. And could
That
you,
feels, yeah, it feels like that would be really a powerful place to be, but it feels a bit of a stretch for me because I have voiced, not particularly to this woman, but to the manager in this place, and I've got real backlash from this
okay,
person. So yeah, there's a fear
yeah.
there.
So just noticing any resistance, any fear, any holding back. And then just for now, could you be open to this possibility that these words can and will be expressed?
Yeah, I can be open to that. Yeah.
Even
Right.
if we start with just what's in your mind,
Yeah.
just be opening to this possibility that I am able to speak what needs to be spoken.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what I'm aware of now is I'm putting my hand over my mouth a little bit. So that's quite interesting that I do that.
Mm, yeah.
A bit of letting go of that as well.
Yeah. So just one more time, just can we welcome in?
Sorry, Laurel.
Ah,
What did you say? I am Kate. Did you say I am capable of speaking? What was the affirmation that you said,
well,
please?
I don't even know what I just said, but I just
Yeah.
could we just welcome, really
Yeah.
stepping into this freedom to speak. Just and
Oh,
even now, if it's just in your mind, just imagining embodying that
yeah, I can.
and having the words move through the throat and out the mouth.
Oh,
And any
yeah,
and just to finish, anything that is hesitant, any
yeah.
resistance, any concern of or wanting approval of how those words are received.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
so wanting approval in this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And I'm also wanting security, believe it or not. It feels
Oh,
like,
I
yeah,
believe it. Yeah.
I believe it, thanks. It's a place I need to come away from, but I don't feel ready to do that at the moment. So, yeah,
There's nothing that needs to happen.
no, yeah.
No,
Oh,
no.
yeah, thanks for that. Because I feel I'm
Yeah.
putting pressure on myself to walk away, and I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
quite ready to do that. Yeah,
there's nothing that needs to happen. Just notice what's here.
yeah,
Just notice what's here. And so any of that wanting to be safe or wanting approval, just for now, could you set that free? Just for now.
yeah, I'm willing to. I'd like
Yeah.
to. If I could, I would. Yes.
Okay, when?
Now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and I just invite you to just continue to notice what's here
Yeah.
and then be open to the possibility of I could let this go. This isn't
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
good.
That was very helpful, that Laurel. Thank you very much. Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
I enjoyed it, Sharon.
Oh, thank you.
All will be well. All will be
Yeah.
well.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it too. Thank you very much, Laurel.
Thank
Bye for
you.
now.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Lorenz. Let's see. think Lorenz, you're up next. I'm gonna let you unmute
Yes,
yourself.
it just took me a while to unmute.
I think because I was trying to unmute you
Yeah,
too. I think we were both doing it.
yeah, yeah.
How
I
are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So good to be here.
Yeah. So good to have you. Um, yeah. Um, I perhaps you could. I don't know, but I don't know about the others, but perhaps you could do a group release.
Of course. What would you like? Anything in
I found
particular?
myself today. How to say? I was frustrated with the sense of self
Hmm.
and the inability to get rid of it.
Okay. So you wanna let go of the I?
Yeah, yeah, and the letting go of the I part, yeah. Or uh, say it differently, to let go of the wanting to let it go.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, that's. I think that's more like it.
Okay, great. Wonderful. I would love to do a group release around that.
Cool,
All
fantastic.
right, I'll go ahead and mute you and then we'll just circle back when we're done and make sure it's complete for you.
All right, perfect.
Okay, thank you. All right. So for Lorenz and anyone else here who may be noticing a sense of frustration around the body mind, as well as any identification with that. And if you've been working with Hale for a little while or non-dual teachers, there may be this sense of really wanting to let go of any identification with the self, with the I, with the story, the sense of me. And it could also be if there's anything else just about you as you are that you're frustrated around, or you'd like to be different in any way. Sharon mentioned, needing to do something. There's this idea of I need to do this or I should do that. The sense of expectation around the body mind. Just wherever you are, whatever is apparently happening to you, could you just notice that? Noticing any resistance, any wanting to control, any wanting for it to be any different than it is in this moment. Could you just welcome that wanting? Could you notice that resistance? Could you notice any sense of pushing away, wanting to get rid of? Could you notice any denial of your experience? Any sense that this is wrong? And whatever you're noticing now, could you welcome that? Could you welcome it with loving awareness? Just like it's a really sweet, tender part of you that feels wrong in some way. And as beingness, as the all, as unconditional loving acceptance, could you simply notice that part of you that feels separate from beingness, separate from life itself. Could you embrace that apparent separation, that illusion of separation? Any part that feels wrong or incomplete in any way, could you notice that and bring it into your heart, surrounding it with love and absolute acceptance? Could you be open to the possibility that all is well here, just as it is? Could you notice the perfection in anything that appears to be lacking in any way? Could you notice any wanting for anything to be different? And could you set that wanting free? And could you welcome that absolute love, absolute perfection of this moment, just as it is? And could you let that perfection of now wash over you? Noticing any part of the body mind that may feel dis-ease in any way. Noticing any sense of apparent contraction, tension, anxiousness. And could you bring in some acceptance? Love, peace, an absolute allowing for this right now, just as it is. And one day, any identification may fall away, or it may not. And could you be open to the possibility of just allowing life to unfold just as it does? And could you relax into that unfolding? Could you allow yourself to float down that stream of life, with ease? And could you enjoy this journey, floating through life? Any sense of struggle or wanting to swim upstream, wanting it to be different? Could you just notice that with loving awareness? Knowing that everything and anything within this experience is beingness, regardless of what label it may or may not have. Could you welcome this absolute perfection that is beingness expressing itself through this apparent individual experience. And could you be open to accepting and allowing it just as it is, as best you can, and just for now? Good. Thank you. All right, Lorenz, how was that for you?
Oh my God. Um, wait. I'm struggling again with the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but you
Did
hear
that-
me, right?
I can hear you. Did that?
Somehow it seems. But you can't see me, right?
I hear you just fine.
Okay, right. Yeah. Yeah, there's actually even more frustration there than I realized.
Is it still here now?
Yeah, I found it difficult to welcome the frustration with yeah.
What's on the other side of that frustration?
Peace, I guess.
I don't even know. I can't
I-
see it.
Not sure.
Yeah, so
Well, no, I would say peace. Like,
okay. Yeah. So
or acceptance or whatever.
okay. Let's just spend a few more moments just welcoming both sides of that if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sure other people, may feel frustration in some way too. So we can still, you and I will work together, but then anybody
Yeah.
else can follow along if they feel any frustration right now.
Okay.
So as best you can you notice that feeling of frustration and allow it to be here as much as it is?
Yeah.
Mhm. Good. And then could you also be open to the possibility of feeling peace and acceptance? Could you welcome that possibility as best you can?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then noticing, could you notice any frustration that appears to be here as much as it is?
Yes.
Good. And then could you notice that peace and acceptance where that frustration appears? Notice the peace and acceptance that's underneath it as best you can.
Yeah.
Good. And again, can you notice any frustration that appears to be here in this moment? Could you welcome that?
Okay.
Good. And then could you also welcome the peace and acceptance beyond that frustration?
Yeah.
And could you welcome that peace and acceptance even more? Could you feel that in your body as best you can?
Yeah.
And could you allow that peace to expand, allowing it to spread through the body mind? allow it to fill your being, and you may get a sense, it might have a sense of being of a feeling like warmth or light, or it could just be an absence, like this spaciousness. Just whatever comes up, could you just allow that to move through you?
Yeah.
You might even feel it move beyond the body mind. Could even go through it, what would it be like to notice that spaciousness expanding beyond the body through your whole room, wherever you are. Noticing that spaciousness and that peace within that spaciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you noticing now? What's here now?
Yeah, there's some slow expandedness, etc. It's good.
Okay, good. Is this a good stopping point for you?
Yeah, it is. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Frank, it looks like you're next. I'll let you unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hi.
Hi. Uh, my name is Ronnie, but I'm with a friend of mine. His name is Frank.
Okay,
Uh,
Ronnie, thank you. I'm glad you're
and
here.
thank you. I'm just here some minutes to show him some how it works with Sedona because he was interested.
Oh, great. Great.
Um, the thing is, what I like some is a group release on the ideals of the world, like love, like beauty, like you also have another think 4 or 6 of those words. Like if there's a possibility to do that, like normally sometimes you can do a release on being. I was thinking similar about some of those ideals. Is that a possibility?
Everything is a possibility. I'm not, I feel like I need a little bit more clarity around what you're asking for.
Okay. Like normally so before I was doing Sedona, I looked at persons and then you see that you're separate. But if I now look at persons, then I'm seeing love. So they also have love because everybody has love.
Mhm.
And I also see beauty. Sometimes they're getting older, but it's just because they're having that. But we're beings that will never die. So also uh, how to say it, the body that we live in doesn't need to get older.
Yeah.
So if you could help each other by seeing those ideals, I hope it's good English, but in Dutch you say some of those ideals. But so what I mean is beauty, love, all the good things similar in the world, and living by that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that now because I've been releasing a lot.
Okay. How long
And
have you been working with the Sedona method?
for a lot of people, not so long. So maybe some is just a couple of months, but I've
Okay.
been doing it almost every day.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm going to speak back what I heard and let me know if I didn't, if I'm not capturing what you're saying, accurately. But, So one of the techniques, and I did it a little bit with Lorenz. One of the techniques that Hale we use in the Sedona method is holistic releasing. And so
Yeah.
we a lot of our experience here seems to be dualistic in nature, that there are these apparent opposites that
Mhm.
kind of work off of each other. And so when we use this technique, things that aren't actually true, and when we talk about truth, truth is what's constant. You know,
Mm.
if it can be changed, it's not truth. It's often just a human concept. And so
Mhm.
when we do holistic releasing, we release on both sides. So it could be, you know, an example would be success and failure. Both are which human are concepts. And as we go back and forth between two sides, those concepts can kind of just dissolve. We can see past it, that it's not really real, it's an illusion. But what's actually truth? You know, those aspects that are everlasting, that are unchangeable. When we do holistic releasing, that those true nature of who we are actually expands. And so when you talk, you know, what you called the ideals of the world sounds very much like what Hale would say, the truth of who we are. So if you were doing a holistic release on, say, for example, love and hate, you know, would likely dissolve, but then love would just grow. It would expand. And so, you know, you mentioned love, you know, beauty, beingness. These are, you know, aspects that are the truth of who we are, that continue to, we open ourselves up even more as we release. And so I could do, if you want, as a group release or one-on-one around this idea of this illusion of separation, this idea that, you know, we're separate from anything. And then also on the other side of that, welcoming oneness, welcoming that that deep connection, that eternal aspect that is it is all, it is beingness, it's everything and anything. Does that resonate for you to do something like that, or?
Yeah, that's a good thing, I think. Yeah,
Okay, good.
it'll be
So
great.
we'll just do that. And again, we're all yeah, wherever you are in this moment, and I'll do this one-on-one. Do you want me to put you on mute and just do it as a group? Would you prefer that, Ronnie?
It's both is good. So, what feels good for you?
Well,
It's good for me.
I'll just continue. I'll just, as we are. And this is for anybody, you know, this kind of goes off of what I did a little bit ago with Lorenz, but just noticing any sense that I am separate. And it could be this idea, like we started with Sharon, that, you know, that there may be somebody in our life that we're in conflict with. There could be a sense of opposition, a sense of not being understood, or just being different in some way. Whatever it is that you feel separate from, you feel a sense of disconnection or conflict. Could you just notice that sense of separation? And another way of looking at it is identification, anything that you're identifying as. You know, anything that you might be saying, I am this, I am that, or this is mine. It also leads to separation. So could you just simply notice wherever you are in this moment, wherever that's showing up for you, could you welcome that? Could you allow that to be here? And then could you also notice the oneness, the interconnectedness, the all that's beyond that sense of separation? And even if it's just an idea or a thought, could you be open to this possibility that nothing is separate? That this is all one life unfolding, one creation, the one love. And could you welcome that love? Welcome that. It could be a feeling, it could be a thought, it could be a possibility. Could you allow that oneness into your heart? And then could you notice anything that is a rejection of that? Anything that feels cut off? Anything that feels separate? Anything that feels like this is mine, I own this? Whether that's a thought, a feeling, memory, an object. Could you just notice that? And then could you also welcome oneness? All is connected. All is one. The whole. The love that unites all things. Acceptance of all. And one more time, noticing anything that is resisting this, anything that appears to be in opposition. Again, anything that feels like this is mine, I own this. Could you simply notice that? Notice that contraction. Notice that sense of separation. Could you allow that to be here, just as it is? And again, could you be open to this possibility that this is all one life? It's all beingness. Acceptance of all. Allowance of all. And the beauty and the love and the joy connected to that absolute beingness. Could you be open to this possibility that nothing is separate from that beingness? Nothing. So can you welcome that absolute connection of all things as best you can? Okay, Ronnie. How was that?
Really peaceful and nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad
If
you're
I had
sharing
a
this
bed,
with
then I would maybe dream.
Perfect. Yeah, and thank you for sharing this with your friend, and I hope you continue to enjoy your journey with the Sedona method.
Yeah, I also hope that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Maxine, you're next.
Hi, hi, Laurel.
Hi.
That's yes, these releases, that's been wonderful. And you've really touched quite a bit on something that virtually just came up in a staff meeting. And I feel pretty relaxed in general, and yet I still have some tension in my stomach about it. And I really like what you said about it's all beingness, it's all love. And yet that's what's living in my head, but in my body, it still feels threatened, that my safety or my sense of identity of how I show up at work feels like it's not enough. And so, yeah, I'm still feeling that tension.
Okay.
Um,
And the first
so
thing
if
I
I,
want to
Mhm. No,
First
I
I'm
was
gonna
just
say-
gonna, no, you go ahead.
Well, I just, survival, our survival instincts are very, very strong.
Mm,
And it's, the mind can, whatever you put in the mind, it's a kind of a similar thing to affirmations. Affirmations can be tricky if we telling ourselves like, I'm infinitely abundant. And then the body, the body's like,
ex-
no, we're not. You're not.
yes, yeah.
So just really giving yourself permission, like the body is really wired to protect itself and to be safe. And
Mm,
so it's like really, for you and anybody else that might judge, like I know these things in my mind and I get it, but I'm not feeling that in the body, and any judgment around that, is
mm,
just to really like thank the body, like, okay, your job is to protect me. The body and the mind work together in that. So
mm,
I just wanted to mention that at first off.
yes.
So
I
just like,
appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah. And I want to start with something that I do. This just kind of came to me as I've been working with this technique. It's not, well, I have heard Hale mentioned using this, but it's not specifically Sedona, but I just want to start with this. So first, is that tension still there in the stomach?
Yes.
Okay. So taking a moment to really acknowledge that tension.
My eyes are also starting to feel a little weepy as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any release that wants to happen through the eyes or anywhere else, it's totally welcome here. I think sometimes some of these things are very, have been here a long time. And so there's a lot of safety and not wanting to protect. And so when we address that, we can have, feelings, sadness or, weeping that might arise, and just give ourselves permission for however the body responds is absolutely welcome here.
Thanks. Mm,
Yeah. But I want to really go into that stomach. So as I mentioned earlier, if you could just really gently place your hands wherever you're noticing that tension.
yeah, they're already there for
Oh,
sure.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And could you notice the comfort of that touch? These are two dear friends meeting, acknowledging one another. So can you just notice that nurturing feeling of being acknowledged?
Mm, yes.
Yeah. And just without labeling it, without, wanting it to go away, again, just fully welcoming any contraction or tension in the stomach. It's like you are safe here to express and be as you are. Now, just as you're addressing a very dear friend, I invite you to acknowledge that sensation in the belly And I'd like you to ask it, what do you need from me? To feel
What does
safe?
it need
Mhm.
from me? Uh-huh.
Yeah. What do you need to feel safe? And just see if you get an answer.
The first thing that came up was support and then protection. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. And then again, let's just see if we get any more information. What does protection look like?
Well, I was just kind of caressing my stomach, the tension area, and
Yeah.
as we were talking, and it felt very soothing.
Mm-hmm. Good. Is that what is that what it wants? Or is there anything else that's wanted to provide support and protection?
Well, that's all that I can sense
Okay,
right now. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, good. Yeah. So let's just do a little bit of welcoming around that. Just noticing, you might recall this experience that you had at the staff meeting. Any words that were shared. And noticing anything that felt threatening to the body.
Well, actually, there were some notes put in the chat after the meeting, and I've been reading them while on the support call, and that's when the 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 sense of not being safe and needing to
Okay.
protect myself. That's when it all came up. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so just noticing that feeling of I'm not safe.
yeah, I'm not safe.
And just could you, as best you can, could you just allow that to be here? Allow yourself to feel that way.
Yes,
Good. And then could you also welcome safety? I am safe. Safety is here. As best you
yes.
can. Good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that I am safe in that I'm just looking around the room and there's no threat, or no one has asked anything of me in terms of my job. No one has even said anything to me. It's.
Yeah.
So there's no real threat that I can connect with outside of my thinking.
Perfect. So the mind on one level is aware of the environment and that there's no tigers or lions or any other
Right.
creatures. Just noticing any part of your being that isn't quite sure about this, that still thinks there's something to protect myself from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And
here.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just allowing that, even if it doesn't make sense consciously, logically, just like, okay, I'm here for you. I see you.
Mm,
Could you just notice that?
yes.
And then also that awareness that all is well here. This is a thought. This is a reaction to a thought. Noticing that external landscape, that there's nothing here that's threatening. So from that awareness, can you welcome in safety, ease, peace? the calmness of this moment. Could you welcome that peace?
Yes.
Good. And then anything else that appears to be in opposition to that, any sense of threat, could you just notice that? Allow it to be here.
Yes.
And then could you notice any part of that body that still has a contraction, noticing the space where that contraction appears? And then notice the peace within that spaciousness. And no matter what thoughts move through the mind and feelings and sensations that follow, that spaciousness and peace is always there beneath the surface. So can you notice that in this moment?
I'm having a little difficulty noticing the space within the tension. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so there's the, like, where does the tension appear?
It's in the stomach, yes.
So it's in the stomach, but where does it emerge from? Like, it's just imagining you had a blank piece of paper, and that paper is the body mind, and anything that arises, any thoughts, any feelings, any sensations arise on top of that.
Correct.
It's like the canvas. All of life appears, materializes on that, but what's beneath it, what's underneath it, is that spaciousness.
Got it.
And it might be like conceptual in the mind now, and if it's too much for the mind to work through, it's just let it go.
I got it. I'm there.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So noticing that what's beneath that blank canvas where all of life experience appears upon, no matter what shows up, what's underneath it, that spaciousness, that's the constant. It never changes. So could you feel into that?
Yes.
Good. How are we doing now?
Much lighter. Yes.
I love hearing how you drop in. You just drop in when you release, and I can just really feel your lightness.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very palatable. Perfect. Well, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does that feel
Yes.
complete for you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. I know we've gone a few minutes over, but Barbara has had her hand up. If you need to go, it's totally fine. No worries. If you need to go, feel free to say goodbye in the chat if you wish, but I want to address Barbara. since she's been patiently waiting.
That's very sweet of you for staying overtime. I'm sorry for that.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I'm glad to help. How are you?
So I'm releasing a lot, but that last one helped me a bit but I have a stomach problem too. My stomach is bothering me, but it so I'm in like I have a lot of anxiety because so I'm in one country, I'm dissolving my a contract for an apartment in another country and I'm not there. And I told my tenant earlier, instead of her moving out end of August, she's moving out tomorrow. And I don't even have a contract from the owner yet. And so that's put me in such a frenzy. And like I wake up, I do so much releasing, so much positive stuff, but I go to sleep and wake up the next day full of anxiety. I release it again. And it's in waves throughout the day because I feel very much under pressure,
Mhm.
because I'm really sitting in the middle now. And yeah. And I'm in another country and my apartment's in another country. So it's very nerve-wracking for me, if that makes sense,
Oh, it definitely
Didn't
makes
ex-
sense.
I didn't expect my tenant to move out within a week. I gave her like 3 months and a week, and I never confirmed yes, but I never told her no. I did say she could move out earlier, but I didn't expect it in a week. So I'm really like in a lot of upheaval, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can't afford the rent. So if something goes wrong, I can't pay it next month because I just don't have the money, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So
Yeah.
I'm very, very nervous, to be honest. It goes up and down, up and down. And I never
Yeah.
gave her an answer since a week too. She's waiting because she's moving out and I don't know what to tell her. I'm like, I'm avoiding it as well. So
Mm.
yeah. So I just don't know what to do all the time. So yeah, I'm full of anxiety, a lot of anxiety, because it's a big
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. I hear you.
Mhm.
So let's just start with noticing what's here.
Okay.
Yeah, and as best you can, we're gonna let's call in beingness or freedom,
Okay.
love, the truth of who you are to support you in that.
Yeah, thank you. And I have a lot of knots in my stomach. I was able to release quite a bit um with Maxine, but the knots are back again,
Okay.
you know.
And they'll come and go as they do.
Yeah.
It's all okay. So let's, again, and you might already have, as I've been telling everybody, to put your hand wherever you notice that unwanted sensation in the body.
Yes.
So you could do that if that feels comforting for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and just as best you can we just allow any and all sensations that are here, any feelings, any thoughts to be
Yeah.
welcomed.
There's a lot of fear here,
Mhm.
I had my
Yeah.
focus, but there's so many components, so I have a lot of fear.
Yeah, so all the fear, just all the feelings, without even really having to label it. It's just acknowledging who's here with us.
Yeah,
It's all here for a reason.
definitely.
Yeah. So there's one thing you mentioned that really stood out to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was avoiding.
As well, because I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So that's where I'd
'Cause,
like to go because I think that's going to be the most supportive to you.
maybe, I don't know, because I really need this contract from the owner, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And yeah, so that I feel under a lot of pressure.
Okay. So could you notice that pressure?
Yeah.
And what is it like? You mentioned avoiding, you mentioned I don't know what to say. Is there any like thought or belief that's getting in the way of you moving forward with this? Of you saying whatever it is that feels like it needs to be said?
Yeah, I don't know what to say because if I don't have a contract from the owner, I wasn't even legally allowed to dissolve it with her, Had a contract, but it went to him. yeah, so I'm lost, you know what I mean? I don't know what to say. And I keep
Okay.
having big fights with my brother and his girlfriend, so I got nobody to ask, you know? I
Mhm.
really don't know what to say. And I'm
Okay.
not signing that contract that I was supposed to sign with her until I know where I'm standing, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm really in limbo right now, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So notice any part of you that is holding on. You know, it's like I'm in like it sounds like there's a bit of like paralysis.
Yeah, it is a bit too because I don't know what to do, you know?
Hmm. So this idea, like I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a sense of I might make a mistake, I might say the wrong thing. You know, it's just kind of being really cautious. Does that feel like what's happening?
Maybe I don't have any security on the other end, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I feel like I lost all my security. So I have a sense of no security.
Hmm.
That's my feeling. I had security having my tenant. I did her a big favor and it boomeranged in my face, you
Hmm.
know?
Okay. So could you notice any part of you in this experience that's really wanting security?
Yes.
Yeah. And could you notice how much you want that?
Yes.
Yeah. And is this wanting security, is it actually helping you to feel and be more secure?
No, it isn't.
Yeah, okay. So, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of that wanting security?
Yes.
Okay, good. And would you?
Yes.
When?
No.
Good. In any wanting security, anything that you describe that's just ready to dissolve, melt away, just allowing that on its own, knows what to do.
Yeah.
And then check, good. And then check to see what's still here. At
Yeah, I have
least,
a stomach ache, you know. My stomach
yeah.
is bothering me, just like Maxine.
It's all the
Yeah.
nerves. It's all the
Yeah,
nerves.
it's
Yeah.
all the nerves. Like I said, I release it a million times and boom, it comes back because I'm sitting in the middle. I don't know what to do.
Okay, well
And
let's look at that then. Let's directing your attention towards those nerves in the stomach
mm,
and just ask, like we do with Maxine, what do you want me to do? What do you need?
security
Yeah. Okay.
and peace, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I have
noticing,
I just
go
have to
ahead.
say one thing. I as I got older, I don't like to do things like hectic or nervousness. So when
Hmm.
something like this happens, it throws me out of my shoes and I can't handle it, you know, because I also have to take a flight there too to close everything up. You know, I'm not
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of components, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't like any of this craziness. I can't handle it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. So noticing all that craziness, all that's going on, all the chaos.
Yes.
And there's probably a lot of that jumping to the future, trying to make conclusions, trying to make sense of this, trying to
Yeah.
problem solve. So
Yes.
just noticing that.
Yes.
And as best you can,
Yes.
just for now, could you set that free?
Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
When?
Yeah.
Good. And allowing whatever it is to just fly away. Noticing anything else here that is contraction in any way.
Till the stomach is contracted.
Yeah, so just noticing that sensation in the stomach,
Mm-hmm.
allowing what's here.
Mm-hmm.
And as best you can, just for now, could you relax that?
Yes.
Would you?
Yeah.
When?
No.
Good. Let's just do that one more time. Noticing any other contraction or resistance around this experience.
Yes.
Just allowing that. And just for now, could you let that go?
Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
When?
No.
Good. And then could you also notice what's beyond this?
Yes.
Noticing this moment where all this has been resolved.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Welcoming that possibility. Okay, a couple steps down the road, this will be resolved.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it will. It will. So can you welcome that resolution
Yes.
and the peace that's there?
Yeah.
And could you call that peace towards you now in this moment
Yeah.
to help guide you through this process?
Yes.
Good. Would you?
Yes.
When?
No.
Good. And could you be open to the possibility that all the answers are here?
Yes.
The support is here for me.
Yes.
Yeah. And I am moving through this.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Does it feel like we can
Yeah.
stop
Thank you
there?
so much for going overtime. I still have a little bit of a stomach ache, but I think that, it'll resolve it. So
It's
that was
okay.
that was so nice, Laurel. Thank you. And
Oh,
thank you for staying for me.
you're so welcome. And I know it will pass, as all
Thank
things
you.
do.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I wish you
Thank you
well.
so much. Thank you. You too.
You're
Thanks so
so,
much.
you're so welcome.
Bye.
And bye. And everyone that's here, if you want to unmute, just take a moment to say goodbye. And
Thank you so much, Laurel. That was just wonderful. Just a great, great call. Thanks so much.
oh, thank you all. It was so
Mm-hmm.
sweet to be here with each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Laurel. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Okay.
Laurel.
All righty. Take care.
Thanks, Laurel.
Thank you. All right, friends. Thank you all. Have a great day. Let's see if I can figure out how to get out of here.